All right, now we get it rolling. Welcome to the Crude Show. Niners pick in the first round, and they get a wide receiver, Ricky Pearsall. We'll talk about it coming up next. First, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Give them a call, or I should go down there, go check them out. They're in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. Or until they run out, and they actually do run out. So check out Pig and a Pickle. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Check the link in the description. Use the promo code KRUG, K-R-U-E-G, and they'll match you up to your first $100. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about some of those things in a minute, but first let's get to the Niners' first-round draft choice, and it's Ricky Pearsall, a wide receiver from Florida. And, there was a lot of tackles that ran. Jordan Morgan, Guyton, both those guys were off the board. Pearsall is a 6'1", 190-pound receiver who ran 4.41, which sounds decently fast, but he's actually, that's not what he's known for. This guy's, he's quick, he's tough, he's got great hands, and he'll high point the ball. He's a wide receiver from Florida. He was a transfer. He has a 42-inch vertical. So he really goes up in a crowd. And there's a lot of talk that the 49ers are still talking trade about Brandon Ayuk and maybe even Deebo Samuel and/or. So we'll see what this leads to. But Pearsall, the thing that you like about Pearsall is that he's probably ready to play right now. He's a very polished receiver. Xavier Legette went a couple picks later to finish out the draft. Or one pick later. So that one, those guys will be compared. And Legette's got 4.3 speed, and he's 230 pounds. And that was the guy I was kind of hoping they would go for. But Legette doesn't have the ball skills of Ricky Pearsall. Pearsall is going to be a favorite of Brock Purdy. Why? Because Pearsall likes to work the middle of the field. One of the things we talked about leading into the draft was just that the 49ers needed to find somebody that, whether it be a tight end, a running back, or a wide receiver, some weapons that succeed in the middle of the field, because that's where Brock Purdy really likes to throw the ball, and Pearsall is exactly that. Terrific hands, really tough, will take a big hit and hold on. As I said, he'll high point the ball. He'll go up in the air. We're talking about a guy with massive vertical. And it does make you wonder if the Niners have some deal involving one of their wide receivers, because I thought the game plan was to go, on the offensive line. You could have had Zach Frazier, could have gone defensive line. Johnny Newton was there. Michael Hall was there. So there were some other guys there. But they went with Pearsall, and, really this guy is going to make Brock Purdy to Ricky Pearsall is going to be a very, very dangerous combination. Why? Because Purdy throws with tremendous anticipation, and he's very accurate. So he can put it on you, and he knows what, once you get into a rapport, I think Pearsall and Purdy could be a deadly combination. Why? Because Pearsall's really exact in how he makes his moves over the middle. He's really quick in and out of his breaks. He's actually kind of like a veteran receiver. He's very polished for a young receiver. So if there's one, what's the advantage of Pearsall over Legette or some of these other receivers? Legette is a big, powerful, fast monster mover who needs probably a year to really get it rolling in the NFL. Because the refinement necessary to escape man coverage in the NFL for a wide receiver is far greater than what you see in college. So long term, I love the tools of Xavier Legette. But if you're looking for somebody right now, and the Niners clearly are, they're inside their Super Bowl window, they're looking for somebody right now to make plays in your offense. A guy like Pearsall's way, way, way more ready to contribute than some of these other receivers that may have some better physical traits. So definitely, you're talking about a player in Pearsall that works over the middle. He lacks that dynamic, explosive gear. He's not a super explosive guy. He's more of a role player, effective slot receiver. Man, you look up at the end of the day and you're like, damn, that guy had 9 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. And you're like, how did that happen? He's really kind of quietly effective. The downside is I don't necessarily see him as a true number one or number two receiver. He's more of a role player. He's more of a slot player. He's more of a contributor. But I think he's polished and he's ready to contribute right away. You're talking about a receiver with among the best ball skills of any of the receivers in this draft. So, and he's not like he's slow. He ran 4.41 at 6'1", 190 pounds. So, um, you know, I'm sure everybody's got their favorites. I'm a little surprised they went receiver. There's an awful lot of talk that they're entertaining, moves, or at least the idea of making moves. I don't know if they're going to move Debo or Ayuk, but man, this gives them a very deep wide receiver core, right? Because you got JJ and Debo and Ayuk and now Pearsall. And then maybe you get something out of Danny Gray. Obviously, you still have Chris Conley. You got Ronnie Bell. You got Trent Taylor, who might make the team just because of his return ability. So they're pretty loaded at wide receiver. And it makes you wonder, can they go? They probably won't go Luke McCaffrey later in the draft now, because in a lot of ways, Luke McCaffrey does a lot of the same things that Pearsall does. He's a good timing receiver, clutch receiver, good ball skills, understands how to sit in the soft spot in the zone, doesn't get tons of separation. And Pearsall doesn't get tons of separation either. But Pearsall is a lot more, he's been doing playing wide receiver for a lot longer, and you can see how much more he has as far as moves and polish. I mean, he's a guy that is ready to step in and run plays from scrimmage week one. I mean, he's very polished. So from that standpoint, I really like it. I really like it from the standpoint of he operates in the middle of the field with top tier ball skills. I'll say this too. I love the combination when you can get the super accurate quarterback also, combined with the receiver that is super tough, runs great routes, and will go get it. I mean, then you're in a great spot. I mean, sometimes you have a quarterback that's not that accurate, and you got a receiver that doesn't have a very big catch radius and doesn't have great ball skills. That makes it almost impossible to connect consistently. But when you have a quarterback like Brock Purdy who can put it on your hands and and throw it to areas, and you've got a receiver like Pearsall who really good double moves, really polished route runner. After a number of reps with Brock, they'll be in lockstep and they'll be able to just kind of, be a relatively unstoppable kind of a pitch and catch machine. Brock knows where Pearsall's going to be. Pearsall knows where Brock's going to be. Everything's very exact and precise. And I could see that being a very difficult to stop combination. But you do lose out on some. You did go first round receiver, and you didn't get a guy who's super dynamic. I mean, Xavier Worthy, runs 4.21. The Chiefs added a guy who runs 4.21, and you added a guy who, runs 4.41, and has really good ball skills. So, he's not a super dynamic player, but he is a chain mover, and from that standpoint, I really kind of like it. We got this one. What does it say? Pearsall would have been their bottom of round two. Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, you can make the argument he was overdrafted. I was looking at the board right there. What would you have preferred? I mean, that's the question I would say, as kind of the pushback on that. Just looking at it, okay, obviously, they weren't going to go running back, so they potentially could have gone receiver, and you had Lad McConkey, A.D. Mitchell, Keon Coleman, Roman Wilson, Xavier Legette, Malachi Corley, all there, and you went with Pearsall. Okay, so if you went, you can question if they went, should they have gone with a different receiver? But then the only other, when I'm looking around at the board, the only thing I thought maybe the center from West Virginia, Zach Frazier, I thought he would have been a great pick. Jackson Powers Johnson, the center from Oregon, I thought was going to be a great pick potentially. Then you look at, the defensive side, or the offensive tackles, I should say. There was Suma Sumamatea from BYU, and I know I butchered that. And Patrick Paul, Brandon Coleman at the tackle spots. So, because there were a lot of tackles, there was really a run on tackles. Zach Frazier as the center, as I mentioned before. And then, all the top linebackers were there. You could have gone any of the linebackers, whoever you wanted. Peyton Wilson, Edrin Cooper. Those guys were all there. What else was there? They could have gone edge, but there really wasn't a lot of an edge player that made sense there. They could have gone defensive tackle, and reached maybe for Rukaroro or Chris Jenkins or, Michael Hall or even Johnny Newton. They could have gone with Johnny Newton, but instead they decided to go with the receiver. So overall, I don't love it. I mean, I know it's an effective. It'll be an effective thing. Like Purdy to the middle of the field is just a Purdy to Pearsall. I think is going to be a very productive combination, and I think they could be very unstoppable. But it's not going to be an explosive thing. It's going to be more of an effective. I look at him as kind of a chain mover, middle of the field guy. But I mean, there's a lot to like when you have a quarterback that's that accurate and you have a wide receiver that's got that kind of ball skills and that kind of catch radius and that kind of leaping ability. I mean, I've seen Pearsall go off the ground and scoop it off the turf, and I've seen him high point balls and win in a crowd. Contested catches. He's made some really, really acrobatic catches. He had a very productive year for the Gators. So, and the ball skills are clearly there, and the catch radius is clearly huge. So the combination of that with what Brock Purdy's bringing to the table, a very catchable ball, and he puts it on your hands, that makes you think that, man, if these guys could get some reps and get on the same page, man, that could be like a pitch and catch combo that could be really, really hard to stop. So I love that potential. I love the potential for, just a combo that just, you just can't really stop. You want to stop it, but you just can't. Clarence Beeks, member for 22 months, says seems like he doesn't love it. We've got this one from Flav, who says, what has he got here? He says, really good pick. Thought they would get him in the second round. Though, but whatever, he will be very good in this offense. Okay. I definitely, to me, this is definitely one of those effective picks. We got this one from, is it, Black Pill Phil. He says Pearsall has a 6.64 3-cone time. Second best overall and fastest among receivers. Yeah, no, he's very, very quick. And that's what I'm saying. This is a polished guy in and out of the breaks. Like this guy he really does look like a veteran receiver. When I watched Pearsall's tape, I thought, wow, this guy's really, really effective in that he's quick in and quick out of the break. There's not a lot of wasted steps there. I mean, there's really a lot to like with Pearsall. We got this one from James Foster. Pearsall, 10th highest vertical jump all time for wide receivers. Wow. Didn't know that. That's a good one. And Lawless Light says, he seems like a Puka kind of guy who's a nuisance to defend, and the it says and the intermediate. I think he means in the intermediate. Yeah, no question. I mean, this is a route runner. This is a guy who's going to be, if he's a complimentary player, I think. I don't think this is your number one receiver. I don't think this is your number two receiver. I think this is a complimentary receiver, but a damn good one, and one that's ready to play right away. And I think that's really the advantage too for the Niners. Instead of waiting for a rookie for years, they may be able to get, I'm not saying a Puka. I mean, the Puka impact was awesome. I don't know if you can depend on that, but a big first year production, I think, could be in order for Ricky Pearsall. We got this one from Paul. He says Pearsall would have been there bottom of round 2. I think I read that. We get this one in here from Double B Studio. He said, this is special hearts or special teams returner based off of the new rules. Yeah, there's no question with the new rules and the new return game that Pearsall could be perfect for that, and that adds more value. We have, as the rules change, you got to get players that fit the rules, and there's no question that he could help in that return game. In the new rules with the return game, he could definitely help as a runner, as a receiver. He's got a little bit. I've seen him on some end arounds, I believe. They used him in a variety of ways. I think this is a guy who can play in the. I think he's ideally suited to play inside, but I think he could play outside as well in a pinch. But what I love about Pearsall is just the ball skills. I mean, the ball skills are really, really high level, and you can't coach that. It's like that's is as important as as 40 time. Are you going to catch the ball? You're a receiver, and there's a lot of guys who are running around, and if you don't have great ball skills, and it's hard to have an offense that really clicks if you have receivers that don't have elite ball skills and can catch it in a crowd. So this guy can do that. He's were there bigger receivers and faster receivers, yeah, but as far as ball skills and toughness and fit with Brock Purdy. I mean, Purdy said it the other day. He's like, I got confidence in Lynch and Shanahan to add the right guys. Why? Because he understands he operates in the middle of the field, and a guy like this is where Pearsall makes his living as well, right in the middle of the field. I can't wait till these guys have had 6-7 weeks of practice to really work on, the tendencies and get on the same page. I think Purdy to Pearsall could be a very, very difficult thing to defend. I mean, think of Stafford to Cup in certain moments. All right, a little pull of water, and now let's get back to the chats. We got this one from Double B Studio. He says Kyle found his Wes Welker type. Yeah, it's possible. We're hoping. Carson Taylor, he said, we thought we should have went best player available. Powers Johnson was there. Yeah, I mean, I would, and I love Powers Johnson. He's a big center, and I do think I love Zach Frazier. He was the center that I liked. But yeah, I was thinking that as well. I was thinking, you know what? The centers maybe where the real value is here, and the Niners clearly could use an upgrade there. But maybe they feel they have more confidence in Brendel. I'm not sure what they see in Nick Zakelj. I mean, Zakelj is Purdy's roommate. He's a tough, smart prospect. Is he a guard? I don't know. He could be in that center mix. If they do get a tackle later in this draft, I could see Colton McKivitz being in the center mix. Feliciano has the ability, if Burford was really good at right guard, or they get a right guard, to move over to center, and he could be in the center mix. So I don't know. I'm not sure how they viewed they have some options internally there. So maybe they didn't see the value at center, but I thought Frazier was just one as good a center as I've seen in a while. Flav says Ayuk and Debo can't get open unless they are schemed open. At worst, some will be same will be the case for Pearsall. Don't see a huge loss if we dump one of them. So he's saying, Flav's kind of saying that Pearsall gives the Niners kind of a redundant part. I see him as different than those guys, for sure. I mean, I think Ayuk's more dynamic down the field receiver, or boundary X receiver, where Pearsall I think is really ideally suited for the slot. I mean, I think you could play him anywhere in a pinch, but I think he's more ideally suited for the slot. We've got this one from Space Cowboy says, is this guy another Brandon Lloyd? No, I don't. I think he's better than Brandon Lloyd. Brandon Lloyd had very little speed. This guy runs 4.41. I think Brandon Lloyd was slower than that. 4.55, something like that. He was not a burner, maybe even slower. And I think this guy's definitely quicker, more. I mean, Brandon Lloyd had great hands, and this guy's made some one-handed catches that remind me of the Brandon Lloyd one-hander against Denver. But I think they're totally different type receivers. And I really like Pearsall. I mean, I think he's an effective receiver who's ready to play right now. I just don't think he's ever going to be your best receiver. To me, he's more of a role player. And does a team that has as many needs as the Niners, you're going to go wide receiver in the first round and you're going more for a role player, and I guess I'd gotten one over a little bit on Ladd McConkey too, just watching McConkey's route running. But in some ways, Pearsall is kind of like McConkey. Now, McConkey ran in the 4.3s. Pearsall ran 4.41. So it's, they're different to that on that level, but they're very similar in that they both can play it. They understand tempo and timing and both of them are polished. I think maybe Pearsall's actually even a little bit more polished than McConkey, but McConkey had a little bit more speed and a little bit more of that extra burst to run away, But the one thing about Pearsall is, I think Brock Purdy's going to love him because he's got sticky hands. He works back to the quarterback and he works the middle of the field like a veteran receiver and has ball skills and catch radius. And, this guy's going to make plays on the ball. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what it's all about. John says, I don't like it. I'll never like rookie receivers. What's the different? What's different here? Make it make sense. And I don't think you can plug and play a rookie in this offense. Okay, we'll find out. I mean, I'll say this. There's that. The Shanahan offense is vast, and there's lots to learn. And you look at the history of players in this offense; they're much better in year 2 and year 3. But it also comes down to, what kind of reps does, Pearsall, what kind of player, what kind of football ethic does he have? What kind of, how hard does he work at it? You got a quarterback that puts it on the hands and run a 9 route. I mean, the level of precision that Shanahan's going to demand from you is greater than anybody ever demanded for you, at college, at Florida, or at your first stop either. So, I mean, that on that level, Kyle is very tough on receivers, but he's also, this is a guy who's got great ball skills. It's not like this guy doesn't know how to play the position. And if you go watch the 5-6 minutes of Pearsall, and you'll see he makes contested catches, he makes acrobatic catches, he works back to the quarterback, he goes off script. And he's got really good hands. He plays with toughness. And he, he's definitely pretty field fast. Like he's 4.41, but you see plays where he's running away from people. So it's not like he's slow out there. I mean, 4.41 is not a slow time to begin with, but you know what I'm saying? He's not a burner. There are burners in this class. But the ball skills are off the charts and the route running is really, really good. So, once he and Purdy get into a rhythm, I think this could be the continuity piece that really moves the chains for the Niners. And that's hard to do. And those kind of guys are valuable if you can move the chains. We got this one from Drunken Ninja. He says, for those comparing Brock or Ricky Pearsall to Trent Taylor, don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Yeah. But I still don't like the pick. Feels unprepared. Yeah, he's not Trent Taylor. I mean, Trent Taylor is 5'8", and ran 4.6 or 4.7 when he came out 5 years ago, and he doesn't run that fast now, and he's small. Why? Because they're both Caucasian. Is that is that the comparison? But or I don't, I don't know. I personally think Pearsall has got a lot more dynamic than that. That's for sure. We get this one from Nick, who says, "I think this means they're going to trade Debo." You would think if you said which receiver is Pearsall more like, he's more like Debo. I think he's not a runner, like Debo as a running back, but Debo works the short middle of the field, intermediate middle, and makes he's the guy that's a middle of the field player. This is a middle of the field player for sure. We'll see what it actually means. Humberto says a more athletic Cooper Cup. Well, you know what? And I'll say this: ball skills. At the end of the day, it's 40 times are awesome, but and height, weight, speed is awesome. But really, what it comes down to, it's called wide receiver. So you want guys who have great ball skills. I'd rather have a guy who's a step slow with great ball skills than a guy who's 2 steps faster than everybody but doesn't have great ball skills. Ball skills are what it's at, because it's hard enough to catch the ball when somebody throws it to you, and then when you've got to run patterns and you mix in weather, and there's people that are out there trying to knock your head off, and it's it becomes very difficult to be a receiver, and you got to have toughness, and you got to have concentration, you got to have hands, and you got to have speed and quickness, and you have to have dedication to your craft, lots of things. And the one thing about Pearsall, he's really, really an advanced receiver. He's not. He's a very polished receiver. I mean, I looked at Ronnie Bell last year, and I thought, man, he looks pretty polished too. And I looked into his bio, and sure enough, his dad is a college football wide receiver coach. So Ronnie has been drilled, and they literally talk, getting off the line of scrimmage while they're having dinner. I mean, that's the kind of house that Ronnie Bell grew up in. So so he's very advanced. I think Pearsall, here we are a year later, is even more advanced. And I don't know how he got there, but I think he's more advanced than Ronnie Bell as far as knowing how to all the nuances of correctly getting in and out of your breaks with no wasted movement, and selling selling your moves, and selling a double move, and leveraging the defender against himself, and keeping him stacked on your back, and the timing of when to break, and just how to protect your quarterback, all these nuances that you learn in the NFL. You see that with Pearsall. I'm not sure where that comes from. I'm not sure where he got so advanced, but it's like he's been in college for 10 years. He is a very advanced receiver as far as catching the football. We got this one from, is it Colt? Was that Colton or Kane Johnstone? He says another Cooper Cup. He's excited. We got this one from, what does that say? Chicken Nuggets. Chicken Nuggets in the house. He says, I got to think they could have gone Newton or DeJean and grabbed Pearsall later, even if via a minor trade. I was surprised they didn't go DeJean, because I think DeJean is kind of an impact guy at the nickel spot. But maybe they didn't believe in his athleticism. If you don't think he's a corner, I don't think you can draft him there. Newton, I really liked, but he's also had some physical problems. To me, Michael Hall and Ruka Rororo, TJ Tampa, Max Melton, these were some of the guys I was thinking about at 31, and Zach Frazier. Some of them would have been considered overdrafts, but those are players that I really like, and let's say they're going to go in the next 15 to 20 picks. We got another one here from Nolo U. He says, reminds me of Golden Tate. Okay, I could see that, but I think Golden Tate was smaller than this guy, though he was pretty strong. Golden Tate had some huge days, by the way. and he had great ball skills. I think this guy definitely is better with the ball in the air than Golden Tate. And I think Pearsall probably ran a better 40 than Golden Tate. But I definitely like Pearsall. I think he's definitely superior to Golden Tate on the, the 50-50 ball in the air. I love the way Pearsall will compete for that ball. Red and Gold Al says another Kyle Shanahan, I'm the smartest guy in the room pick, a Jalen Hurd. Well, I'll say this. The guy has great collegiate production. It wasn't like, hey, they fell in love with some film. The guy did have great collegiate production. I won't debate, who knows? Xavier Legette may be better. Malachi Corley may be better. A.D. Mitchell was on the board there too. And Lad McConkey, Pearsall will get compared to the receivers that were drafted after him. That's just human nature. So that's coming. Michael says Slick Rick is a dog. Watch the tape. Same people probably complained when they traded up to draft BA. Trust the process. Spread the field. That's the one thing. I mean, I don't know if this guy does. He's not a space creator because he's not a burner. He's more, but I'll say this. When Brock Purdy's running for his life and floats something in the middle of the field, he's going to love that this guy's on the team. Why? Because he works back to the football. He has a huge catch radius. He doesn't mind catching it in a crowd, has great hands, will take a pop and usually hold on. Now, that's at the college level. Can he do it at the pro level? We're going to find out. But, I mean, this guy's got great ball skills. So, I mean, a quarterback's best friend is a receiver that works in the middle of the field that has great ball skills. And that's what this guy has. So, there's a lot to like there. Josh says, lateral move, another weapon for a stacked weapon team. At pick 31, top teams improved. The Niners didn't, in my opinion. I thought they would go line of scrimmage. I'll say this. I don't fault them for not going with a second tier tackle. I would not have gone second tier tackle, but you also had Johnny Newton, the top rated defensive tackle there. As I told you, I love Michael Hall and Aurora Rowe and some of those defensive tackles that were there. You did have Cooper DeJean there. But maybe there's a lot of conjecture that they've been talking about a deal for Ayuk, and maybe this is, part of something else that, that's coming. I'm not rooting for it, but it wouldn't shock me. I mean, what's the best way? If you're going to lose a receiver, wouldn't you want to add a receiver? So I don't know if they'll get anything done, but if not, you're adding to an already deep, stacked receiver room. Now you've got Debo, Ayuk, and you've got Jawan Jennings, and then you still have Chris Conley, Ronnie Bell, Tay Martin, those guys. You've got a number of guys there, and now you're adding a very polished guy who looks like he could be a slot starter for you. So, maybe, but then JJ's Jennings is the slot starter. So it's, this is going to be very interesting to see how this all, shakes out. I think the nice thing about Pearsall is that you've got a player that played in a big time conference. It's not like, well, this guy played, we don't know about the level of football that he played at. No, who was he really going up against? No, this guy did it for Florida in the SEC against all the best defensive backs in the best conference in America. So you got that. And then you got the fact that, when you watch him and you turn on the film, you can see this guy makes some amazing catches, right? He's got great ball skills, and then you watch him go up for it in a crowd. You can see his vertical plays. Like, he doesn't just, have the vertical, but he doesn't actually contest balls in the air. This guy does. He contests and wins jump balls in the air. Then you look at some of the route refinement and some of the double moves. He's very precise in his route running for a college receiver. And it makes you think, you know what? This guy might be able to contribute right away. So fun to think about. And once again, I think it's not the kind of pick that makes you go, wow, but it's the kind of pick that I think is more effective. Like Lad McConkey wouldn't make me go wow either, but there's an effectiveness to adding a really good route runner with really good ball skills. We got this one from Bay Area who says, I think that this move signals Debo's leaving. Move JJ outside with Ayuk and put him in the slot. I feel the Niners will draft a running back sooner than most think. I'd be happy with a running back sooner because I think maybe you could use McCaffrey outside, and also it's a play action offense. I don't know how much longer they're going to have Elijah Mitchell. To me, this is a really good draft for running backs. I love Amani Bailey on day 3, and I love Blake Corum on day 2. So we'll see where that goes. But there's a bunch of running backs. I mean, literally probably 10 to 20 running backs that are really interesting that will be available on day 2, day 3, and even as undrafted free agents, after day 3. That's for sure. We got this one from MS who says, can we please stop calling every white wide receiver Welker? Oh, I know. That's really, it's lazy. It's lazy. It's as soon as you have a white wide receiver, it's like, he's Julian Edelman. Well, Julian Edelman was enormously tough and really, really, so it's like, just because you're a white guy receiver doesn't mean you're Julian Edelman tough. What I mean? Everybody's got their own traits, but yeah, that probably should end. And we got this one from Joe. He says, what is he saying here? He says, Niners gamble first rounders instead of securing talent. Yeah, I mean, they have not hit on the first round. I was listening to one of the radio stations, and they were coming back from a break, and they were playing, Roger Goodell announcing all their picks. And outside of Bosa, I mean, Mike McGlinchey, bust. Kinlaw, kind of a bust. Obviously Reuben Foster, bust. Solomon Thomas, bust. Trey Lance, to this point, bust. So, I mean, they've had a lot of bad first-round picks for sure. I don't know that I would call this one a bad draft, but because I like the production here and I like the player, but it is a little low end for round 1 for me. Now, I think they're going to make hay in the middle rounds, but it would be nice if you drafted guys in the first round who potentially could be pillars of your team going forward. Is this receiver a pillar of the team going forward? I don't think he's ever has the potential to be their number 1 receiver. I just think he's more effective. You added an effective middle of the field, tough receiver with great ball skills who's going to help you win games. There's no question in my mind. But is he dynamic? Is he a foundation piece for a while? I don't know. I would say no. We got another one here from Josh who says, also could have made a trade like the Bills to move up 1-2 spots and still get him. I don't get it. Mike Silver messed my emotions up. That's great. That is awesome. We have this one from Mawson Hollowell. He says, as a diehard Florida Gator fan who watched every single snap of Ricky Pearsall the last 2 years, I can tell you, y'all are getting an absolute star. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, this is a guy. I think we ought to take a step back and take the guy who actually watched him. And this happened when the Niners drafted Juwan Jennings. There were a lot of people that were like, the Niners drafted a receiver with 4.76 40 time. Oh my God, does he get tight end? What is he? And all my friends who watch Tennessee football were like, dude, Juwan Jennings is the man. And so he was almost a borderline legend in Knoxville. Ricky Pearsall, that's what I'm saying. When you produce, fans of your team will remember you. And hearing that here, is that a Gator fan is like, you're going to love this guy. Yeah, because he's got great ball skills and he makes acrobatic plays in the middle of the field. And so it's all about moving the chains, right? And as a receiver, if you talk to a quarterback and he's talking fondly about his receivers, he'll be like, oh, he'll go get it for you, you know? And that's what Ricky Pearsall is. He'll go get it for you. And he'll contort his body. He'll work the middle of the field. He'll rise up in a crowd. He'll take a big hit, big ball skills, big catch radius, really quick, in addition to running, 4.41, which is a decent time. I don't know if I love the pick, but I don't think it's a bust. I think he's definitely a guy who's going to not only be able to contribute, I think he'll be able to contribute right away. He would be on my list of plug and play players, and I would have said that well before the draft because he's polished. He's a polished player that's ready to go. Kurt says Pearsall looks exactly like Ed McCaffrey. I don't know about that. Ed McCaffrey was like 6'5". ZZZC says Leggett is more like Debo build, but maybe Kyle is worried about him getting winded like Debo always was. LOL. This dude looks like an Energizer Bunny. Yeah, I mean, Energizer Bunny. You want to call him that? I just think that Pearsall is. He'll contort his body. He'll catch it in a crowd. He'll go up in a group. I mean, he's got great ball skills, and he'll go get it. And he's a good route runner. For a college receiver, he's an exceptional route runner. And when you look at that and you think, wow, this guy's pretty refined. And then he was pretty hard to stop in the SEC. So it's not like, the Niners are getting a guy who should be able to help them right out of the chute. Gregory says Pearsall points more to Debo moving than Ayuk. To me, at least, if they decide to let one go, I think they're betting on CB in round two and O-line later, cornerback in round 2 and an O-line later. Yeah. I mean, at this point, if you're the Niners, go get great players. I don't care about what position. You need a bunch of positions. And there's still free agents out there at every single position in the league. Just go get great players. Don't worry. Where I think you start, doing poorly in the draft is, we got to get a corner. We need to get a safety, and it's got to be it's got to be a free safety, and you start putting yourself in boxes, and then all of a sudden you start drafting mediocre players that you don't really have a lot of conviction in. Go find great players, and then make it all work. Go find, if there's a great player on the board, take him. I think it's exciting because they do have a number of picks on day 2 and day 3, and they've done well on some of those picks. So this is an opportunity for them to really improve their football team. What do they do tonight? They added a receiver. Does that mean they're going to move a receiver? Possibly. But they definitely added a receiver that is the kind of receiver that you could plug right in. And Brock's going to love him. This player is way more. He's fun to watch because he goes up in a crowd and he makes some highlight reel plays for sure. But he's also very effective. You know what I mean? This is a very effective football player where he runs incredible routes. Brock throws a very accurate ball. These guys work together for 5, 6, 7 weeks, and you're going to see them complete plays like in their sleep. So that's kind of how I see it. Let's go to this one. This one is the Big 25, and he says, couldn't believe the Bills moved today, made the trade with the Chiefs and helped them get even better with Worthy. Yeah, I mean, that, usually, the last thing, I didn't want to see Ayuk dealt to the Chiefs at all. And the Bills, here they are. The Bills need a receiver. They can't get by the Chiefs. and they let the Chiefs jump in front for Worthy. Now, you know, I'm not saying that, Worthy is not, not a good player, but maybe the Bills just felt like, hey, what, this speedster is not going to be what we need in Buffalo, New York in November and December. We need, a different type receiver. So maybe they had no interest in Worthy, but what if Worthy becomes the next Tyreek Hill? And what if Worthy stands between you and the Super Bowl? What if Worthy becomes this dynamic weapon for the Chiefs and you can never get over the top, and you dealt with them and helped them make that trade and get that piece? That's always a concern. Okay, let's see. We got this one. Okay, we got this one from Grant Tolbert. And he says, this is Kyle wanting to show that he is smart, smart yet than Sean. We have never replaced Jimmy Ward. Need a safety who can cover the slot. Bullard start day one. He's saying Bullard. He likes Bullard in the draft. Interesting. I definitely think safety is going to be a spot they have to address. Flav drops this one. He says Xavier Worthy was who they wanted, and KC stole him. Bitch slapped us again. Flav. There you go. Who knows? Flav. They definitely jumped up. I mean, there was the Daniel Jeremiah report that the Niners wanted Xavier Worthy. Did they actually want Xavier Worthy, or was that just a mock draft thing? But the Chiefs clearly jumped in front of the Niners and got Xavier Worthy. So if Xavier Worthy becomes this incredible home run dominator, add another chapter in draft lore. And then Doug D says, Krug, what happened? We've been beating the drum hard since the day after the Super Bowl for O-line help. Well, I just think this is a deep draft for O-line, but it was really good at the top. And then I kind of think there's a little bit of a lull here. I don't like these guys left over, Rosengarten and some of the guys that are still on the board. The guy from BYU, I don't think so much of a run blocker. I kind of like that next group that I think is going to be down there at the bottom of the second round. Blake Fisher from Notre Dame, Javon Foster from Missouri, Smith from Texas, Greenfield from South Dakota State, Rouse from Oklahoma. I think some of the tackles further down the board might be even better value than the tackles that are available right now. So I think they're kind of reading the board right, in my opinion. All right, let's get this one from Gregory. He said Niners philosophy the last 10 to 15 years has been to beat outright speed with punishing short game football. They need a legit number 2, number 3 corner. Kool-Aid, Hart from Notre Dame, and Anusium. No, and DeJean. One of my favorites, are my favorites. All right, there you go. We get this one from Rick, who says we could have gotten we could have gotten any defensive rotational piece, but decided not tag for someone who will get less than 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. Waste of a pick, reach for sure. All right. Well, we'll see. I mean, I kind of agree with you. I would have liked to have seen Michael Hall. I would have liked to have seen Max Melton. I would have liked to have seen Cedric Gray. I would have liked to have seen somebody who's a plug and play regular on that defense. But they did address the defense a lot in free agency. And, and we don't know what they got going wide receiver wise, with what they're discussing with other teams. So that's the other part of this. Kalba Kamiga says a bit of a head scratcher, but not as bad as Penix to Atlanta at 8. Curious to see what happens in the next 24 hours with Debo and Ayuk. Yeah, I am as well. I thought Atlanta was wise to get Penix because I think Penix is a star. I really do. I think Penix is going to be an absolute monster. Crypto says 42-inch vertical, really quick and always open, great against press coverage, great for Purdy skill set. Yeah. Oh, there's no question. Purdy's going to love this guy because Purdy's accurate and on time, and this guy's got a huge catch radius and great ball skills. So I mean, so when you have that, then it's like these guys you can can make plays against air. It's kind of like trying to defend Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua. These guys running these short stop routes. Well, I mean, you if you got a great quick receiver that operates in the middle of the field effectively, man, that's hard to stop. It really is. Roberto says, I'm this. I think this is a good pick. A lot of teams didn't like DeJean, apparently. The O line that was left can't be bad day two, or can be the O linemen that are left can be had in day two. Yeah. I mean, I think there's several good O linemen. Mason McCormick is my favorite guard. Zach Frazier is my favorite center. Javon Foster and Garrett Greenfield are my favorite tackles, but there's also 4 or 5 other good tackles. So I think it's a little thin at guard, but to me, Frazier is a star. I would hope the Niners would get Frazier. Daza throws a 5 spot in there and he says, there was 2 good cornerbacks, and Jackson Powers Johnson all would have been better picks than the receiver, than Ricky Pearsall. I hear you. Sven says, I don't think Pearsall is a bad player, but when you have Adonai or Leggett right there, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? There we go. All right. And let's see. We got a couple. Do we have any? I mean, we've got so many more supers here. It's Kev, do you want to jump in here? Do you want? Hey, there you are. There you are. What's going on?
Just wanted to let you know that we're starting next stream in 5 minutes, so we gotta.
Well, why don't you jump in here and I'll.
I can't jump in. I can't jump in, but I just want to let you know. All right, see you.
All right, there you go. Kev can't jump in. All right. Okay, let's see. We got another one here from Vin Russo. All right, Vin says 4.441 and the fastest 3-cone drill of all receivers, not explosive. Yeah, I mean the guy's people say he's not 4.3, but I mean 4.41 is now not explosive. He's very explosive. He's a good route runner. And in the 3-cone drill shows the agility, and that's really what you need: the agility, the balance, the stop and start.
I'll help you read supers. So
all right, so here we go. Yeah, go ahead.
Is this the next one?
Yeah.
Slick ran a fast 40, then Debo, then BA and Debo. He's not slow. He's a closer, or he's closer to 4.3, 4.5, which is what Debo and BA ran.
There you go. We got this one from
No mock draft anywhere had RP in the first with impact players still available. This was a reach.
I like
Wasn't
that.
Anticipating it. Wasn't anticipating it.
There, I mean, nobody's gonna love it. Not everybody's gonna love it. I should say. Paul, thank you.
Price with the $10.
Look at that.
Jay with the 5.
Look at that. Thank you, Jay.
Daza 0187. Ricky be a good player, but first round good. He was projected second round. Projected early second round. I wouldn't say it's the hugest reach.
Well, he's got good ball skills. He runs good routes. He's quick as hell. He was productive in a great conference.
Can I just add one opinion? Since I'm here, I might as well add one opinion. I obviously was kind of confused by the pick. Looked into it a little bit over the last 30 minutes. The one thing that stands out to me is he was 93rd percentile 3-cone, 97th percentile vertical jump. So the scouting reports say, you know, he's not going to impress you off the line, and his tape might not impress you, but he is very quick, and he'll run routes, and he has good ball skills. So that's
There you go.
and I also it makes me think that BA is staying. Now, Mike Silver reported that Debo might be the one that they're shopping now. I'm not sure if you saw that,
This
but
weekend or
in the
talking about
last
next year?
in the last 30 minutes, Silver put
Wow.
out he's hearing that they might move Debo. So that's kind of the new
This
talking
guy
point.
does a lot of the same things that Debo does, middle of the field stuff, short and intermediate.
Chris Finn, who do you think that they were going to draft?
What do you mean? I mean, they were going. I mean, they. You know, you play the board as it comes.
I mean, maybe
Um,
Darius Robinson,
Darius Robinson could have been a guy they were looking at.
potentially Guyton, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe Guyton, the tackle, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, it's definitely, you know, they had their choice of a number of receivers. They could have had Lad McConkey. They could have had Xavier Leggett. They could have had Malachi Corley. They obviously preferred Pearsall. Pearsall definitely is more polished than those guys. He's more ready to roll. We got this one here.
This pick has Kyle Shanahan written all over it. It not Lynch. I don't like it, but we'll see. I'm getting Dante Bettis vibes.
He's better than Dante Pettis.
Francisco Leon says Ricky P was my draft crush. I don't know about 31 though. I've mother effed couple cup so many times, and I think this guy will do this to other teams for us. Good pick.
There you go. Good route runner. In other words, he'll drive you crazy.
Marcus Mason, not a sexy pick, but for Shanahan offense, it makes sense the more you think about it. I agree. James Dunn, for your reading glasses fund, Larry.
What did he say?
He said, for your reading glasses fund.
There you go. Thank you.
Pearsall matches Brock perfectly.
Yeah. Brock's going to love this guy. Brock to this guy could be unstoppable in a year or two.
Yeah. No, we'll see.
They're made for each other. They're made for each other for sure.
Krug is poster child for Papa and Lund LASIK Doc.
Yeah, exactly.
Ryan Hatfield, division went D line. We should have beefed up on O line.
I know. I was thinking corners watching Harrison go to Atlanta or to Arizona. I'm thinking corners. But what can you say? Okay, we'll end this right here. What did you think though overall? Who was the big winner before we get out of here of night one of the NFL draft, if you had to say?
I mean, my favorite picks. One thing that my first takeaway was, Michael Penix going at 8 is just, it's kind of proving the point that I think you and me were both talking about, a month ago, where we're like, we don't get why this guy is like a second round mock draft player. Like this guy's legit. You were higher on him than me. Like I wasn't saying the Niners should draft him in the first round. You were kind of making that point a while ago. I don't know if you still make that point, but that was a surprising thing to me. Just looking at the board here, Quinyon Mitchell going to the Eagles. I thought that was a good pick for them. I like Quinyon Mitchell. Brian Thomas Jr. to from LSU to the Jaguars. Good pick. The Lions trading up to get Terrion Arnold. Interesting pick. I thought Terrion Arnold was going to go way higher. And then
I thought the Saints getting Taliesin. I mean, the Saints getting Taliesin Fuaga. What a load he is. And, they got him. I thought that was a great pick. I thought Seattle adding Byron Murphy, the best defensive tackle in the draft. I thought that was a phenomenal pick.
Yeah. And I like Troy Fatano going to the Steelers. I think the Steelers really beef up their offensive line because he's not going to play tackle there. I don't think. He's going to be a mauler as a guard, though.
Yeah. Quinyon Mitchell to the Eagles was a great pick. I mean, that was a fantastic pick for the Eagles. I thought Carolina getting Brian Thomas for their second year quarterback. I thought that was a really nice pick. The team that I think blew it was Green Bay taking Jordan Morgan.
Yeah,
That was like, what? Green Bay. I mean, that was not
um,
a good pick, I didn't think. And I didn't like, I'm not a Tyler Guyton guy either. I think he doesn't play to the whistle. I think he doesn't finish his blocks. He rises up out of his stance. He loses all of his power. I mean, he looks awesome. He's 6'8", but I think Dallas, for the second year in a row, went for the prospect that looks awesome but doesn't play awesome. And I kind of wonder if Dallas really scouts, or if they just kind of fall in love with the way certain guys look at certain positions. Because last year they took Mozzie Smith, who was on the Feldman freak list, and he does look the part. And if you look at Mozzie, you're like, oh my God, look at that guy. And he's like the first guy off the bus. And now they added another year, another guy who's kind of like first guy off the bus in Tyler Guyton. But when you watch him play, you can see he's only a right tackle. He's not a left tackle. There's all kinds of refinement there. And the effort that he gives is just kind of mediocre. So I don't know. I thought Dallas kind of blew it.
All right, well, that wraps it up for this show. We're going right back at you. Damon and the crew, or is it just Damon's coming on?
Damon's going to be there. Low Neal's going to be in the house.
Okay.
Low Neal's going to be in the house. Well, it's coming
Kruger
up next.
Kruger and the crew
That's
coming
right.
up next.
Coming up next, everybody join us. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to all of you guys. Thanks for the super chats. And join us on our stream as we break down all of round one. Coming up next on the Krug Show. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Careful.